The most prestigious chamber in the known universe fell silent as the massive crystalline doors swung open. Well, silent might be stretching it, considering the various breathing apparatuses, atmospheric processors, and that one Zylaxian who really needed to get their methane converter checked. The Grand Galactic Council chamber, in all its ostentatious glory, housed representatives from over 10,000 species, each one supposedly more advanced than the last, at least according to their own PR departments. High Councillor Zixanax, with all 6 of their sensory appendages twitching in barely contained annoyance, glared down from the floating platform that served as both their pedestal and personal space heater. The chamber's design, a perfect geometric nightmare that would make Escher reach for aspirin, featured floating platforms arranged in concentric circles, each housing increasingly important and increasingly full of themselves species. Announcing, boomed the automated translation system, which somehow managed to sound both bored and pretentious, the representative of species classification 4891C, designation human. The resulting collective gasp nearly caused 3 different atmospheric regulation systems to short-circuit. A bipedal figure strode into the chamber, wearing what appeared to be, and this caused several upper-tier species to emit distress pheromones, a simple black business suit. Ambassador Marcus Chen fought the urge to whistle the theme from Star Wars as he walked across the quantum-stabilized bridge. Instead, he maintained what his training manual had described as diplomatic composure, though the slight smirk tugging at his lips probably wasn't doing humanity any favors. "That's their environmental suit," whispered Grand Minister Klatt of the Silicon Consciousness, their crystalline form vibrating with derision. "How quaint! They haven't even integrated basic photon shielding." "I heard they still use combustion engines," replied Ambassador Vex of the Plasma Collective, their energy form flickering with what passed for laughter in their species. Marcus reached the central platform, which automatically adjusted its environment to Earth-standard conditions, a feature that had cost the Council an absurd amount of credits and exactly 0 thanks from its members. He cleared his throat, an action that caused at least 30 different species to activate their threat assessment protocols. "Representatives of the Grand Galactic Council," Marcus began, his voice clear and surprisingly steady for someone addressing the most powerful beings in the galaxy. "On behalf of Earth and humanity, I bring you greetings," and he paused, noting a particularly condescending look from a floating gas cloud. "A suggestion that maybe we should adjust the chamber's gravity controls, unless Ambassador Helium up there meant to drift into the crystalline delegation." The resulting chaos was worth every second of the diplomatic incident it would surely cause. The Atmospheric Alliance representative, indeed, had been slowly floating upward, too absorbed in their own superiority to notice they were about to cause an interstellar incident with a species that took great pride in their perfectly arranged geometric forms. High Councillor Zixanax's appendages now moved in patterns that suggested either extreme irritation or a pressing need for antacids. "Representative of Earth," they pronounced each word as if it physically pained them, "you stand before the most advanced civilizations in known space, species that have mastered dark energy, bent time, and achieved immortality. Yet you arrive in cloth coverings, displaying no signs of technological advancement beyond basic spaceflight capability. Explain your qualification for this gathering." Marcus looked around the chamber, taking in the various forms of alien life. There were beings of pure energy, crystalline entities that could process information faster than supercomputers, and species that had evolved beyond physical form entirely. All of them, without exception, were staring at him with what their various physiologies could manage as smug superiority. "Well," Marcus replied, adjusting his tie with deliberate slowness, "I thought I'd start by pointing out that your universal translator is running on what's essentially Windows Vista, and maybe we could have a chat about upgrading that before someone accidentally declares war by asking where the bathroom is." Again. The silence that followed was broken only by the distinct sound of a Zylaxian's methane converter finally giving up the ghost. High Councillor Zixanax regained their composure faster than a quantum particle, flip-flopping states. Their appendages now moved in what humans would recognize as the universal gesture for, "Let's see how you handle this, smarty pants." "The Council has deliberated," they announced, which was news to everyone since no actual deliberation had taken place, and we have decided to subject Earth to the trials of ascension." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds, ranging from ultrasonic squeals to subsonic rumbles. The trials hadn't been invoked in over 10,000 years, not since the quantum collective had attempted them and ended up accidentally reversing their own evolution. They were now very philosophical amoebas. Marcus raised his hand, looking for all the world like a student trying to get the teacher's attention. "Quick question. Is this like one of those talent shows where you buzz us if you don't like our performance? Because I've got to tell you, my karaoke skills are questionable at best." "Silence," thundered Zixanax, using the chamber's acoustics to full effect. A minor species in the back actually molted from shock. "The trials are sacred challenges that will test your species' worth. They are impossible by design, meant to humble emerging races and teach them their place in the cosmic hierarchy." "Impossible?" Marcus pulled out his phone and started typing. Several species activated their weapon systems, only to power down when they realized he was just sending a text. "Cool, cool, cool, cool. What kind of impossible are we talking about here? Like my mum's meatloaf impossible, or more of a explaining TikTok to aliens impossible?" The High Counselor's appendages twisted into shapes that would make a topology professor weep. "The first trial shall test your species' intellectual capabilities against the finest minds in the galaxy. You will be required to solve puzzles that have stumped our greatest thinkers for millennia." "Neat, go on." "The second trial will challenge your physical form in environments designed to break both body and spirit. No single species has ever completed this trial without significant cybernetic enhancement or evolution beyond physical form." "And the third?" "The third trial will test your cultural advancement. You must demonstrate that your species has achieved a level of artistic and social development worthy of galactic society. Your primitive attempts at expression will be judged against the greatest achievements of 10,000 civilizations." Marcus finally looked up from his phone. "Just sent the details to Earth. Our team should be here in about..." He checked his watch. 20 minutes? We had them on standby near the Kuiper Belt. Hope that's okay." The council chamber descended into chaos. Species began arguing about protocol, tradition, and whether humans understood the concept of impossibility. A group of energy beings started taking bets on how quickly the humans would fail, using quantum fluctuations as currency. The chaos doubled when, exactly 19 minutes and 47 seconds later, a small transport ship docked with the station. The ship's design was deceptively simple, lacking the usual ornamental flourishes favored by galactic society. It looked, as one particularly snobbish silicon being noted, like a space brick with ambition. The ship's doors opened with a perfectly ordinary hiss, no dramatic smoke or lighting effects. Out stepped Earth's chosen champions, Dr. Raj Patel, whose doctoral thesis on quantum mechanics had been written in limerick form, Commander Lin Zhang, who had once won an ultramarathon because she forgot to stop running, and Professor Daniel Mbeki, whose experimental music combined classical orchestra with heavy metal and whale songs. "Sorry we're late," Dr. Patel announced to the chamber. "We stopped for snacks. Anyone want some chips? They're salt and vinegar." The council watched in horror as these humans, these supposedly primitive beings, casually munched on processed potato products while reviewing the trial parameters on their tablets. The final insult came when Commander Zhang pulled out a thermos of coffee and started passing out cups to her teammates. "Before we begin," Marcus addressed the council, his grin now reaching levels that worried several empathic species, "I should probably mention that we humans have a weird quirk. See, when you tell us something's impossible..." He gestured to his team, who were now doing stretches and comparing notes. "Well, we tend to take that as a personal challenge. Also, Dr. Patel here once proved a mathematical theorem wrong because it said mean things about his favorite football team." High Counselor Zixanax's appendages drooped slightly. For the first time in their long existence, they felt a strange sensation, the dawning realization that they might have made a terrible mistake. "Let the trials begin," they announced, their voice lacking its usual certainty. "May the cosmos have mercy on us all." Commander Zhang cracked her knuckles. "This is going to be fun." The first trial chamber resembled a cross between a supercomputer and a modern art installation, having an existential crisis. Holographic puzzles floated through the air, each one representing problems that had stumped the galaxy's greatest minds. Dr. Raj Patel strolled in, sipping his third cup of coffee, while the council members watched from their observation platforms with the kind of smug anticipation usually reserved for cats watching a mouse walk into a trap. Your first challenge, announced grand theorist Wax of the silicon consciousness, their crystalline form gleaming with barely contained satisfaction, is to resolve the paradox of infinite recursion within a closed quantum system. Oh, that old thing. Raj pulled out a notebook, an actual paper notebook, causing several technological species to emit sounds of distress. Give me 5 minutes. Anyone got a pencil? No? Fine, I'll use this crayon I found in my pocket. What followed was perhaps the most unorthodox display of problem-solving the council had ever witnessed. Dr. Patel began doodling what appeared to be stick figures in the margins while muttering about pizza delivery routes in non-Euclidean space. Is he solving complex quantum mechanics using pizza delivery analogies? Whispered one of the energy beings to their neighbor. Quiet, hissed theorist Wicks. He's obviously just scribbling nonsense before admitting defeat. Done. Raj held up his notebook, now covered in a mixture of equations, doodles, and what appeared to be a recipe for curry. The solution's pretty simple if you think about it like a pizza delivery guy trying to deliver to all possible universes while making sure the pizza stays hot. You just need to account for the thermal dynamics of cheese in quantum space. The chamber fell silent as the greatest minds in the galaxy processed his solution. Several silicon-based beings began to vibrate in distress as they realized that not only was he correct, but his solution was elegantly simple, and he'd included suggestions for optimal topping distribution across multiple dimensions. Impossible, screeched theorist YX. The next challenge, solve the grand unified theory of everything. Everything? Raj raised an eyebrow. Like everything, or just the boring physics stuff? Everything. Right then. He pulled out his phone. Hey, anyone mind if I put on some music? I think better with tunes. No? Too bad. Doing it anyway. The sacred halls of knowledge were suddenly filled with the sounds of what several species identified as Bohemian Rhapsody. Dr. Patel began working on the problem while doing what appeared to be an interpretive dance. What is this madness? Demanded one of the council members. Oh, this, Raj spun in his chair, multimodal problem solving. The rhythm helps with the mathematical patterns, the lyrics inspire quantum metaphors, and the dance helps me visualize multidimensional string theory. Also, Queen is just awesome. Before the council could object, he'd filled 3 more pages with equations, diagrams, and what looked suspiciously like song lyrics integrated into mathematical proofs. The solution, when verified, caused 2 AI species to temporarily crash and a quantum computer to start questioning its career choices. But that's not how you're supposed to solve it, protested theorist YX. Says who? Raj shrugged. The universe doesn't care how you figure stuff out as long as you get there. Speaking of getting there, this is fun and all, but can we speed things up? I've got a pizza in the ship's oven and I don't want it to get cold. The council, now thoroughly rattled, presented their final intellectual challenge, predicting the next 1,000 years of galactic evolution. They brought forth their most advanced predictive engines, their most powerful quantum computers, their most enlightened seers. Raj looked at the massive array of technology, then pulled out a deck of cards. Anyone up for a game of probability poker while I work this out? Poker? The word caused several translation matrices to stutter. Yeah, it'll help me model random quantum fluctuations in societal development patterns. Plus, I'm pretty good at it. He began shuffling with disturbing expertise. Did you know you can learn more about a species' evolutionary patterns by how they bluff than by studying their genetic code? What followed was a bizarre combination of card game, sociology lesson, and revolutionary mathematical modeling that left the council's best minds both broke and bewildered. Raj's final prediction model, sketched out on the back of a pizza box with probability curves based on poker hands, was so accurate it caused 3 precognitive species to question their life choices. How? Demanded theorist Wax, their crystalline form clouded with confusion. How did you solve these impossibilities using games, music, and fast food analogies? Raj gathered his notes, most of which were now covered in pizza grease. Here's the thing about humans. We're really good at looking at super complex problems and finding really weird ways to make them simple. Also, everything makes more sense with pizza. Speaking of which, he checked his watch. That pizza in the ship should be done right about now. Anyone want a slice? I make a mean 4 cheese with quantum spiced pepperoni. The first trial was declared complete when several council members, against all protocol and dignity, accepted his offer of pizza. As they ate, Raj began explaining his solutions using the toppings as visual aids, and somehow it all made perfect sense. The High Council would later classify this as the first recorded instance of scientific advancement through pizza diplomacy. The physical trial arena looked like someone had taken every hostile environment in the universe and crammed them into one space through aggressive interior decorating. Commander Lin Zhang stood at the entrance doing stretches that made several invertebrate species feel uncomfortable just watching. The physical trial announced combat master cracks of the warrior collective, their bioengineered form rippling with deadly grace, consists of surviving environments that would break most species. You must cross the plasma planes, scale the mountain of molecular destabilization, swim through the quantum uncertainty sea, and finally, traverse the desert of temporal displacement. Lin finished her stretches and pulled out a water bottle. Cool. Mind if I do a quick warm-up lap? Warm-up lap? Krax's enhanced brain struggled with the concept. This arena has killed 99% of all who attempted it. Yeah, but I promised my running group I'd keep up with my training schedule. This counts as my Thursday cardio. She started jogging in place. By the way, is there a bathroom around here? Always good to go before a run. The council observers exchanged worried glances as Lin returned from her bathroom break, wearing what appeared to be standard Earth running gear, plus a small backpack. No power armor, no cybernetic enhancements, not even a proper environmental suit, just moisture-wicking fabric and running shoes with good arch support. Begin, roared Krax, certain they were about to witness either a spectacular failure or a quick death. Lin took off across the plasma planes at what her fitness tracker would later classify as a decent pace. The superheated plasma should have vaporized her instantly. Instead, she seemed to be sweating. Fascinating adaptation, muttered one of the scientific observers. The human is using their bizarre water cooling system to create a protective microclimate. This is nothing, Lin called back, her voice barely strained. Try running a marathon in Houston in August. Now that's hot. She reached the mountain of molecular destabilization where matter itself became unreliable. Most species required quantum stabilizers just to approach it. Lin pulled out what appeared to be climbing chalk and basic handholds from her backpack. Is that primitive climbing equipment? Asked a horrified council member. Nah, this is high-tech stuff, Lin grunted, scaling the impossible surface. The chalk's got nanoparticles that help identify stable molecular structures. The handholds are quantum-locked. My friend in R&D calls them really fancy suction cups, but it's way more complicated. I just know they work. Halfway up, she paused to take a selfie. Sorry, my Instagram followers love this kind of thing. The quantum uncertainty sea posed its own challenges, a body of liquid where probability itself broke down. Most beings emerged either drastically changed or paradoxically non-existent. Lin pulled out a small rubber duck from her backpack. What possible purpose could that serve? Demanded Krax. Oh, this? It's a quantum probability anchor disguised as a bath toy. If it floats, the path is safe. If it doesn't, I try another route. Plus, it's cute. She tossed the duck in. It bobbed happily, creating a wake of stable probability through the chaos. The council watched in disbelief as she breaststroked through the quantum soup, humming what sounded suspiciously like, "Just keep swimming." But it was the desert of temporal displacement that truly broke their understanding of human capabilities. Here, time itself became unreliable. Entire civilizations had aged to dust trying to cross it. Lin stopped at the edge and pulled out a sandwich. Really? Krax's voice dripped with disdain. Your solution to temporal displacement is to have lunch? Nope, Lin took a bite. This is just a snack. My solution is way dumber. She pulled out her phone and opened what appeared to be a dating app. See, we figured out that temporal displacement works a lot like waiting for a text back from someone you're interested in. Time becomes completely subjective and meaningless. She began walking across the desert, swiping right occasionally. By actively participating in the most temporally confusing human activity, dating, I create a personal temporal bubble where time is always simultaneously too fast and too slow, can't be displaced if you're already temporally confused. The logic was so absurd that 3 time theorist species had to be escorted out for emergency philosophy counseling. Lynn reached the finish line while checking her fitness stats. Hey, not bad, new personal record, though I think the temporal displacement might have messed with my step counter. Cracks, their enhanced mind struggling to process what they'd witnessed, managed to ask, How? How did your primitive species develop such weird solutions? Lynn started her cool-down stretches. Look, humans are pretty simple. We find something impossible, then we either science the hell out of it or we just keep pushing until the impossible gives up and goes home. Usually both. She pulled out her water bottle and took a long drink. Also, we're really, really good at turning absolutely anything into exercise equipment. You should see what people at my gym do with those little resistance bands. The council huddled in emergency session, trying to process how their ultimate physical challenge had just been treated like a moderate workout. They were further disturbed when Lynn asked if she could do another quick lap because her fitness tracker showed she was just shy of her daily goal. Oh, by the way, she added, checking her phone, my dating app matched with someone in the quantum uncertainty sea. Anyone know if cross-dimensional dating is allowed under council regulations? Also, the duck is now simultaneously in a relationship with 3 probability variants of itself, which is either a quantum physics breakthrough or a really weird episode of a dating show. The physical trial was officially declared complete when several combat masters requested to join Lynn's running group, and the quantum duck became an official scientific measuring device for probability mechanics. The council added a note to their records. Never challenge humans to feats of endurance. They'll turn it into a sport and then ask to do it again. Professor Daniel Mbeki stood in the center of the cultural exchange chamber, surrounded by the finest artistic achievements of 10,000 civilizations. The space was filled with perfect mathematical symphonies, quantum-entangled sculptures and paintings created in spectrums of light that human eyes couldn't even perceive. Cultural Minister Vexener, a being of pure aesthetic energy, floated down to address him. Present your species' artistic achievements, human, though I warn you, we have experienced perfection in all its forms. Perfection? Daniel scratched his beard thoughtfully. No, we're not really into that. Perfection's boring. We prefer something with a bit more chaos. He pulled out what appeared to be an ancient vinyl record player. A primitive sound reproduction device? Vexener's energy form flickered with amusement. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Daniel placed a record on the turntable. Let's start with something classical. Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor, remixed with heavy metal and whale songs. The chamber filled with a sound that made several crystalline species develop fractal patterns from shock. The mathematical precision of Bach intertwined with electric guitars and the haunting calls of humpback whales, creating something that was simultaneously ancient and modern, earthly and alien. But it follows no proper harmonic rules, protested a music theorist from the upper tiers. Exactly, Daniel grinned. Humans have a saying, rules are made to be broken. Speaking of which, he pulled out a holographic projector. Let's talk about visual arts. The projector displayed Earth's greatest masterpieces, but with a twist. Classical paintings morphed into street art, which transformed into digital art, then into memes, creating a chaotic timeline of human visual expression. Is that a picture of a small Earth feline requesting sustenance with deliberately incorrect spelling? Asked a confused council member. Oh, you mean the icon has cheeseburger meme? Yeah, that's culture too. High art, low art, we mix it all up. Sometimes the silliest things have the most impact. Before they could process this, Daniel moved on to literature. He began reciting Shakespeare, but seamlessly mixed in quotes from popular movies, rap lyrics, and internet slang. Somehow, impossibly, it worked. But where is the purity, the single perfect form? Demanded Vexener. That's the neat part, there isn't any. Humans take bits and pieces from everything, mix them together and create something new. We call it fusion, remix, mashup. We're basically cultural magpies. If we see something shiny, we grab it and make it our own. To demonstrate, he pulled out cooking equipment. The council watched in fascination as he prepared what he called quantum sushi burritos with molecular gastronomy sauce and grandma's secret spice mix. Your species combines food traditions for fun? a gastronomy expert, seemed both horrified and intrigued. For fun, for flavor, for bringing people together, Daniel started plating the food. In human culture, sharing a meal is one of the most important ways we connect. Anyone hungry? Several council members, despite their best intentions, found themselves drawn to the strange earth concoctions. A silicon-based being was seen attempting to figure out how to consume sushi without having a mouth. But the real shock came when Daniel introduced them to human dancing. He started with ballet, showing its grace and precision, then, without warning, transitioned into breakdancing. The council watched in amazement as he demonstrated how humans could turn literally any movement into a dance, any sound into music, any surface into art. "And here's the best part," Daniel said, pulling up more displays. "Look at how our art changes when we connect with other cultures. Every time humans meet something new, we don't just learn about it, we blend it with what we know, create something different, something that's neither one nor the other, but something entirely new." The displays showed human art and culture evolving, adapting, growing with each new influence. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pure. It was messy, chaotic, and absolutely alive. Vexana's energy form had shifted through multiple spectral ranges during the presentation. This is not excellence as we understand it." "Nope," Daniel agreed cheerfully. "It's better, it's authentic, it's human. We don't aim for perfection, we aim for connection. Whether it's through music that shouldn't work but does, food that crosses galaxies of tradition, or art that breaks every rule in the book while writing new ones." The chamber had fallen silent, but it wasn't the silence of judgment anymore. It was the silence of beings trying to process a completely new way of thinking about culture and art. "Also," Daniel added, pulling out his phone, "I've been live streaming this whole thing to Earth. The comments section is wild, and someone's already made a meme about that silicon being trying to eat sushi. It's gone viral in about 15 different star systems." The cultural exchange was declared complete when several council members requested cooking lessons. 3 different species tried to start a breakdancing competition, and the quantum sushi burrito was officially classified as a form of performance art. The council added another note to their records, warning, "Human culture is highly contagious. Side effects may include spontaneous dancing, fusion cuisine, and an inexplicable desire to remix classical music with whale songs." High Councillor Zixanax's appendages trembled as they unsealed the ancient archive's crystalline structures that hadn't been accessed in millennia. The chamber had fallen into an expectant hush, broken only by the sound of someone still trying to figure out how to eat that quantum sushi burrito. "In all our history," Zixanax began, their voice unusually subdued, "no species has ever completed the trials in quite such a disturbing manner." "Thanks," Marcus beamed. "We try our best to be disturbing." "But that's just it," Zixanax continued, bringing forth a glowing crystal tablet. "There was an ancient prophecy, one we had dismissed as mere superstition. It spoke of a species that would come forth, one that would solve the unsolvable through methods that defied logic." The crystal tablet projected its contents into the air, showing strange symbols and diagrams. The prophecy spoke of beings who would dance with chaos itself, make music from the universe's discord, and turn the impossible into a recreational activity. Commander Zhang raised her hand. "Question, is this going to be on a test later? Because I didn't bring my notepad." "The prophecy," Zixanax pressed on, ignoring the interruption, "specifically mentioned a species that would approach the divine through the ridiculous and achieve greatness by refusing to acknowledge its own limitations." Dr. Patel nodded thoughtfully. "That does sound like us. Last week, someone invented a new type of space engine because they were too impatient to wait for their delivery drone." The council chamber erupted in whispers as Zixanax revealed more of the ancient text. The prophecy calls them the Chaos Dancers, beings who would bridge the gap between logic and absurdity, who would unite the galaxy not through perfection but through memes and pizza. "Oh hey, that last part must have been added recently," Professor Mbeki commented. "Probably quantum temporal feedback from all our shenanigans today. Don't you understand?" Zixanax's appendages were now moving in patterns that suggested either extreme excitement or urgent need for antacids. "Your species wasn't meant to be tested by the trials. The trials were meant to be broken by you." Marcus considered this revelation while munching on some leftover quantum chips. So, what you're saying is, humans are basically the galaxy's designated chaos agents, the cosmic equivalent of that friend who makes terrible puns but somehow solves everyone's problems. The prophecy suggests that the galaxy needs balance, Zixanax explained. We had become too ordered, too perfect, too boring. The universe requires chaos to evolve, to grow, to learn how to laugh, suggested Marcus, offering the High Counselor a chip. And then, in a moment that would be recorded in galactic history, and immediately turned into a meme, High Counselor Zixanax took the chip, ate it, and laughed. The sound was so unexpected that 3 different translation matrices crashed trying to process it. The truth about human potential, Zixanax announced to the chamber, is that they have none. Before protests could erupt, they continued, they have no potential because they refuse to acknowledge limits. They don't reach their potential. They simply keep going until the universe gives up and redefines what's possible. The council looked at the human team, a physicist who solved quantum mechanics with pizza analogies, a runner who treated impossible terrain like a casual jog, and an artist who had just convinced a silicon-based life form to try breakdancing. We don't just welcome humanity to the galactic community, Zixanax declared. We need them. The universe needs them. Without chaos, order becomes stagnant. Without absurdity, logic loses its way. Without humans, well, who else is going to teach us how to properly appreciate cat videos? The formal ceremony to welcome humanity into the Galactic Council was everything one would expect from an advanced civilization, dignified, solemn, and completely derailed by human influence within 5 minutes. Marcus stood on the central platform, trying to maintain diplomatic composure while Dr. Patel taught a group of energy beings how to do the Macarena. Commander Zhang had somehow organized an impromptu marathon through the station's corridors, with representatives from 15 different species participating. Professor Mbeki was leading what he called a quantum karaoke session, where the songs existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. As we welcome humanity, High Counselor Zixanax announced, their appendages now adorned with what appeared to be friendship bracelets, we must acknowledge that certain changes to Council protocol will be necessary. Like casual Fridays, Marcus suggested. We're big fans of casual Fridays. Indeed, the Council has already received 17 human applications to remix our official anthem, 3 proposals to establish intergalactic food truck zones, and 1 very persistent request to organize a galactic Olympics. That last one was definitely Lin, Marcus nodded toward Commander Zhang, who was now teaching proper running form to a bewildered group of floating gas clouds. Furthermore, Zixanax continued, we must address the issue of humanity's role in galactic governance. The chamber fell silent, expecting some grand pronouncement about humanity's new responsibilities. Instead, Zixanax pulled out what appeared to be a human smartphone. We have decided, they announced with unprecedented informality, to create a galactic Reddit, the universe help us all. The real shock came moments later when the Council revealed the final twist. They were reorganizing the entire power structure based on which species could best embrace chaos while maintaining peace. Humanity, to nobody's surprise and everyone's concern, ranked at the top. Does this mean we're in charge? Marcus asked, genuinely confused. No, Zixanax replied. It means you're our designated agents of chaos, our cosmic tech support, our cultural consultants for when the universe needs to loosen up a bit. So basically, we're the galaxy's fun aunt. We prefer the term strategic disorder consultants. As if to prove the point, Dr. Patel chose that moment to demonstrate how to combine faster-than-light travel with pizza delivery. It's not about the speed of light, it's about ensuring the cheese doesn't get cold, while Professor Mbeki introduced the concept of galactic flash mobs. The ceremony concluded with what would become known as the Great Galactic Dance-Off of 2024, where species that had been at war for millennia found themselves bonding over their shared inability to do the robot. As the celebration reached its peak, Marcus looked around at the joyful chaos and leaned over to High Counselor Zixanax. You know what the best part is? What? This isn't even our final form. The High Counselor's appendages tied themselves in knots, but they were laughing. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly the point.